Gary, which forward is a must-play? Looks like Jimmy Butler, questionable, is the highest-priced guy in this department with a toe injury.
The toe.
Power forward is really interesting tonight, just in the way the pricing breaks down. So forward's kind of an interesting position on this slate, especially with all the questionable guys. Maybe one of the reasons I didn't mention Karl-Anthony Towns in the first question, I just like Anthony Edwards. I think you might be getting him, even though this is an obvious good spot for anyone on the Timberwolves. I mean, the Wolves just bring the pace. They are the highest paced team in the NBA across their last 10 games. We all know Detroit cannot defend. This is a good spot. There's a reason why the Timberwolves have the second highest implied team total on tonight's slate. But maybe a couple people are scared away from Edwards just because of the variance. I mean, he's had two really poor performances in his last two games, although I think it's worth noting that the last game was sort of out of his hands. It was just Nikola Jokic went to the bench and Minnesota destroyed Denver's awful bench unit. And by the time that had happened, there was really no need for Minnesota's starters to come back in. So I don't really hold that particular game against Edwards. I just think it was a weird script thing. But this is someone who, even with two underwhelming performances in his last 5 games, he's also scored 60 DraftKings points twice in his last 5 games. So the upside is obvious. I think he's in a position to thrive tonight against a Detroit team that just doesn't have anyone to stop him. So hopefully the variance scares a couple people away, but I really like Edwards.
Nick, who's in a position to thrive tonight at forward?
I'm going to keep going back to Pascal Siakam, and his salary keeps climbing. He's at $9,000, but he's very viable tonight against the Bulls defense that, was really good earlier in the season, and now that it's lost some of its point of attack defenders, just has not been very good over the last couple of weeks. Bulls are 24th in defense over the last 10 games. They're a lot more vulnerable than they were earlier in the season. And, not only is Siakam playing really well, some of the best basketball all around of his career, but he's still playing close to, if not more than, 40 minutes every single night. I mean, he got a break and only played 35 minutes in their last game against Miami, and that kind of feels like his floor. That's the worst case scenario if you're putting him in your lineup and he only plays 35 minutes. So I think it's a great thing when you can say that about any player. You're expecting him to basically play 40 minutes. So I love Siakam tonight. And then Mikal Bridges, another player who I kind of keep waiting for his minutes to normalize, but it just has not happened. He's played 40 plus now in 4 straight games. Suns are at Atlanta tonight. I think it's an intriguing matchup, certainly if Trae Young plays. If not, I really like Phoenix's chances here, but Bridges coming off of 2 big scoring games, and it kind of feels to me like Phoenix knows the run that they're on and they want to keep pushing this thing. Like, there's really been no reason why Booker, Paul, Bridges, these guys are all playing like 38 to 42 minutes every single night. I think they realize, like, hey, we have kind of a special streak going and we want to keep pushing it. So I think 6,400, a really good deal for a player who's a virtual lock, to keep seeing minutes close to 40.
Matty, which forward are you going to consider building your lineups around?
Yeah, so I like the call of targeting Raptors against the Bulls. I think the Bulls defense is kind of a thing that a lot of people are missing, so I'm on the same page there. But there's another team that struggles defensively that I want to target too, and the players here might be a little less popular, and that's the LA versus LA game. Marcus Morris was away from the team for a while for the Clippers. He's been back 2 games now. The minutes are coming up a little bit, and the price has dropped. He was in the mid-6,000s. Now he's down to 5,700. So I think we have a chance to get a buy low spot on Marcus Morris where he's the main guy on this offense, maybe him or Reggie Jackson, but Marcus Morris takes a lot more shots in a situation where Kawhi Leonard and then Paul George are out for extended periods of time. The offense runs through him a lot of the time. The Lakers are also on a back-to-back tonight. They just played Portland. The defense might be a little more sluggish than normal, so I think we're getting a little bit of value on Morris, and I think the matchup might be a little better than people realize.